Where does the time go? It seems like so little time has gone since I did the last one of these, because I was late. But I'm not this month, so let's answer questions that $5 supporters asked in August. If you have questions for September, links are below. Let's start on Patreon, where Darth Vega asks, do you play chess? Do you have any advice for a newbie? I do not, so I can only give you general advice. Just do it. Watch tutorials, play computer chess, and play with all the people you can. Join the online games and forums. You always learn best by doing. Anon Donor asks, how can the rural-urban divide be bridged? If necessary, what should both sides do to bridge the divide? That's a problem as old as the hills, even older than the Civil War, going back to ancient Rome and Greece, where, for example, the enlightened Greeks of Athens had to deal with the so-called barbarians. And history has generally taken the side of the enlightened city folk over the ignorant country bumpkins. Because the city folk wrote the history books, you see. Frankly, I don't see any way it can happen without getting rid of government entirely, which will make the question moot. This has always been about cities using their wealth and superior numbers to grab power and money. Since it doesn't work to take from each other, you find someone else to take from. And that's people in rural areas who don't have those numbers. And they'll even tell the rural areas it's for their own good. If it weren't for them, you wouldn't have schools or healthcare or anything else. And it's also why you have to be really suspicious of people who say things like, we should end the Electoral College and vote for the president by popular vote. It's really the only thing that allows people in rural areas to have a voice in politics. At the very least, solving the problem will require a decentralization of power and enabling entrepreneurship in rural areas. I've mentioned several times the problem of rural farming areas being stuck economically because of the Agricultural Adjustment Act and Wickard v. Filburn. Actually, farming is a perfect example of what I said a minute ago. Look at how many federal regulations and agencies there are around farming, where politicians pretend to be for the small family farms, but in reality, they're just protectionism for the big factory farms, artificially restricting the smaller farms in the marketplace. No one, urban or rural, should have power over anyone else. That's something humanity is just going to have to accept eventually. And finally, over on Subscribestar, Dickin Myanus asks for thoughts on a video he's linked to. The video is called, Most People Want Eternal Suffering. And he doesn't just mean that people want to see others suffering, they want to suffer themselves. For example, how people are perfectly willing to impoverish themselves if they can see other people suffering, like with heinous taxes. They'll happily be poor as long as the rich are taxed. It sounds a bit like crab mentality. There are also the people who basically define themselves by how much of a victim they are, or how much they're in despair, as if they get some kind of dopamine kick out of it or something. His conclusion, then, is that hell is a place intended for these people, where they can suffer in peace without having to deal with people who are more successful than they are. He acknowledges that this sounds absurd, but he contends that this is what most people actually want. And weirdly, he uses this to get around the problem of an all-loving God dishing out infinite punishment. So God, being all-loving, is giving people of this psychology exactly what they want, the best possible paradise for them. Because if they were in an actual paradise, they'd be completely miserable. Of course, I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in God or hell, but I think we all know the personality type he's talking about. But I don't think they're as prevalent as we might believe. The first reason why is that these are the loudest voices and the ones you therefore see the most. They're the toxic ones making comments on YouTube or X or Reddit. They're the Karens at the grocery store. Whereas most people aren't like that. Most people just buy their groceries and leave. But the Karens leave their mark, And so they stand out, and we tend to think there are more of them than there really are. The second is that politics thrives on this kind of person. They're extremely motivated to get positions of political power. They're the kind of people that politicians can campaign to most effectively, and the histrionic clickbaity news media makes money basically catering to these people. But I don't think that's most people. I think most people just want to live their lives in peace. I think it's the few Karens and self-haters and fearmongers who are causing the problem for everyone else. And it just seems like there are so many of them because they're so loud and in such prominent positions, and the ordinary person, who's in the silent majority, feels alone, like no one's catering to his needs or believing the things that he does. We have to fight against that as much as we have to fight against government, because largely they're one and the same. So thanks so much for watching. Comments for the comment god, shares for the share throne. Please hit like, subscribe, and the bell, and check out other videos on my channel and like and share them as well. And of course, go to donate.pagosity.tv for all sorts of ways to support, including PayPal, Venmo, and various cryptocurrencies, or become a regular supporter at Patreon, Subscribestar, and Discord to get these videos early and ad-free, and participate in live streams and AMAs like this one. Thanks again, and until next time, stay strong and be free.